Good afternoon, everyone. This is the webinar Developing Your Personal Brand, part of DigiSkills Cymru and Connecting Learners in Southwestern Mid Wales. Wolf Project's New Year, New You series of webinars. It's the final webinar in the series. We may well be rearranging the cancelled second webinar when I wasn't well enough with the flu to get the webinar going on the technical side. So watch out for emails coming about the rearranged second webinar. But this is Developing Your Personal Brand. Currently, we have two viewers who've just logged on. Hi there. This is Developing Your Personal Brand, the New Year, New You webinar from DigiSkills Cymru and Connecting Learners, UNISON Wolf Projects. What we'll do is, as we have on the two other webinars that have gone ahead, we'll wait until we have a few more people logged on. I get an update on people joining the webinar on my computer. You might well see in my glasses a reflection of the screen. That isn't me with virtual reality glasses on. That's just the fact that I've got a blue filter on my glasses. So don't think that's too weird. Karen Fisher's also with us, who's going to be presenting the first half of today's webinar on developing your personal brand, and then I'm going to look in detail about your online reputation, digital footprint, and how to build your online reputation and protect yourself online as well. So that'll form the second half of today. We're still only at 2 viewers, Karen. I don't know if you want to say hello.
I can do. Hello. Yeah, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that we do have a few delegates missing today. Some of the sort of faithful delegates who've been following the series from the beginning. Largely because we have a large women's committee meeting today. It's their annual general meeting, so we are missing some of our regular viewers who have logged on this afternoon. I know, from feedback that we've received from the participants, that the sessions have been very well received so far. So I appreciate that feedback. Thanks. And I believe that we will start shortly. Then I'll take my lead from you, Richard.
Yeah, we'll start in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Give other people a chance to log on. If you are watching us already, grab your sandwiches, and we'll be starting very soon. Just a couple of pointers around how to interact with us today. There is a Twitter hashtag that I'll be monitoring while Karen's talking in particular. Which is New Year, New Unison, which is the hashtag we've been using throughout this series. But you can also, if you log on to YouTube, if you are logged on to YouTube, you should be watching us through YouTube. You log on, you can use the chat pane in the corner as well, which you can use to share links, to ask questions, to make comments on what we're saying. And to interact with us generally. There'll also be another opportunity for you to get involved later in the session as well. If you do miss any of the webinar, you do have the ability to rewind as well through YouTube. If you have to go away halfway through, you can always rejoin us again. The recording of the webinar will be available as soon as we finish about 1:30. So, Karen, we're still on 2 viewers, but I think it might be a good idea not to keep our faithful audience hanging around too much longer. We're now at 12:36. So I'm going to switch my microphone off. I'll keep an eye on the chat pane and the Twitter. And if you want to go ahead and start the first part of today's webinar.
Okay, thanks, Richard. I appreciate that, and as I say, I agree really. The fact that Richard's already reiterated that the webinar will be recorded. I don't see this as a sort of lost opportunity for those who are unable to join us. So welcome to the 2 of you. Thank you for coming back today. basically what we're going to be looking at today is our personal brand, our reputation, how other people see us. Last week, for those of you who were with us, we talked very much about our skills, the things that we do well, and also explored things that perhaps we might need to focus on and develop further. So, you know, continuing on the same theme, but slightly different. Just to advise as well that this session is funded by the Wales Union Learning Fund. That's a funding pot offered by the Welsh Government. So we thank our sponsors at Welsh Government for the opportunity to manage today's session. In doing so, we are obligated to send back certain information to our sponsors at Welsh Government. And those of you who have joined us previously will be aware that we do have a learner registration form, and you will see the link to that on the screen at the moment.
Karen.
However, I think,
can I cut in there?
You're going to say?
That's last week's link. Sorry, that's my fault for not updating it on the presentation. In the description on the YouTube video, below the YouTube video, there's the link to today's form. That's also in the chat pane on the YouTube video. And if you registered through Eventbrite for this webinar, you will have received today's e-form link. That's last week's. If you did attend last week and you haven't filled in the form, the one on the screen is the one you need. But yeah, I'll post that up again as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
I think I'm right in saying that if the participants joining us this afternoon have already completed a form, then they don't have to complete one again.
Yes, that's the case.
Yeah? Great. Okay, thanks, Richard. So in terms of today's session, you'll hear a lot more from Richard today. He's been absolutely tremendous these last few weeks in managing the technical aspects of the webinar, but he's going to be sharing his expertise today, particularly in respect of our digital presence and reputation. So we'll be handing over, as I say, to Richard later. Richard is manager of UNISON's DigiSkills Cymru project, so looks after all things digital, from, you know, sort of IT skills to more digital literacy skills, social media usage and things like that. And you'll be familiar with me by now, I guess. Karen Fisher, project manager at UNISON's Connecting Learners project, one of 3 projects in the Connecting Learners family, and I look after people in Southwest and Central Wales, and we also have colleagues managing operations in North Wales and Southeast Wales. And the general aim of the project is to widen participation in learning, encouraging people to take advantage of learning opportunities for the benefit of their personal development. As Richard said earlier, we have got a hashtag set up today, so those of you who are Twitter users can comment throughout the session using the hashtag New Year, New Unison. And for those of you who have YouTube accounts, you can actually use the comments pane that's directly under where the video is being viewed right now. So 2 ways of commenting and participating. However, you're more than welcome to just sit back and, as Richard indicated earlier, enjoy your sandwiches and listen and absorb what's being said today. So why are we here? We want to talk about personal branding and how this benefits us. We will consider our values, our beliefs and our traits. And we will consider the impact of these on others, and this is very much where Richard will kick in terms of, you know, how we're viewed online and how others see us. We will touch on how Unison can help as well. There have been issues where people perhaps have got in trouble for their online behaviour, and how our trade union can help people in those instances. So what made me think about this really? Branding, what is it all about? Well, when I started exploring this, it made me think about our oldest son, Joseph. He's now 22. But when he was little, we'd take him out in the car and he would start to get bored. So we'd inevitably end up playing something like I Spy. But he would sit up with interest when he spotted the golden arches of McDonald's. Oh, McDonald's, he'd say, you know, and he would almost hope then that there would be a Happy Meal at the end of it. And the point I'm making is that the McDonald's logo is instantly recognizable. That's the point, yeah? It's all about branding, what makes us recognizable over our competitors and everybody else. Branding and logos are deliberately well thought out. If we look at the UNISON logo at the bottom of the screen, for example, it's no coincidence that it's represented in the colours of purple and green. Nobody said, oh, yes, that's pretty, you know, let's have purple and green. The colours were carefully chosen as a homage to the women of the suffragette movement, believing that their actions to ensure equality in the democratic process mirrored the values of the trade union. Do you see what I mean? So, with that in mind, why should we build a personal brand? And I would encourage to comment using the hashtag on Twitter or using the comments pane. And we will come back to that a little bit later. As I said earlier, Richard is monitoring our social media activity today. So I'd be interested to find out what you think about that. Branding on a business level, so from a company perspective, it is very common. But it's becoming just as important on a personal level. After all, you might work for a business that works with other businesses. But it's people working with people. And that is what makes business relationships valuable. As the slide suggests, it's what separates one thing from another. It's what makes us stand out. Now, last week, we looked at some depth at our skills and qualifications and how we could evidence these to an employer, whether it be for promotion, for our appraisal, or even if we're looking for a job at a different company, or even if it's about being our best self in our current role. Nothing wrong with any of those. We agreed that employers are looking for a mix and a balance of skills specific to do the job. But in this instance, we're looking at me as an individual. What am I about? What do I believe in? And how can these qualities and values align to those of the organisation or company that we work for? Now, there are benefits to us and to the people that we work for. It will inevitably lead to better job and promotion prospects and increased earning potential. From a company's perspective, it can lead to industry recognition, so awards like Investors in People. But generally, the reputation of the company, and again, coming back to my son Joseph, a good example would be the company that he works for. He works for Admiral. And they're very often high-ranking in what is described as a desirable employer, somewhere where people want to work because of how their values impact on their staff, how they look after their staff. A good reputation will help us grow professional networks. People will want to work with us and gravitate towards us. It'll certainly improve our customer and client relationships. So in other words, a unique, positive brand can convince an employer that they want you on their team. What qualities do you possess that creates a feeling of trust and satisfaction in them? So as I say, we concentrated last week on skills and qualifications, the I can do. So in terms of personal branding, we will now focus more on qualities, behaviours and values. So what am I about? Now here's a question, two questions in fact. And again, feel free to comment using the hashtag and the comments pane. But to build up a picture of ourselves, we might first ask ourselves, what am I known for? What are you all about? What really matters to you? What do you wish for people to associate with you when they hear your name? And if you were to ask somebody close to you the same questions, what would they say? And that's also very useful as well, especially in terms of our self-awareness, to get another perspective, somebody close to you, somebody who's going to be honest with you. I suppose the same applies to the people you work with. What are they known for? Are they people that you were drawn to in a positive way? Or does their reputation encourage you to give them a wide berth? See where I'm going here. So for example, lover or loather, most people who recall Margaret Thatcher would remember her as the Iron Lady. Depending, of course, on your political persuasion, and I am not going to influence that today, but that would mean different things. Yeah, as I say, depending on your political persuasion, the Iron Lady means different things. Now, her supporters would regard this as a positive brand. Whereas, for example, there are mining communities across the UK, along with the trade unions, etc., would not share that view. They remember the Iron Lady as somebody who crushed communities. On the other hand, as a leader, you have Nelson Mandela, a freedom fighter, a victim of injustice, incarcerated for all those years, but eventually boosted to the role of president, and is seen as a positive role model, a peacemaker, and a gentleman. Two completely different people then in terms of reputation and branding. Now then, it always makes me smile when I hear that Liam Gallagher on the left there of Oasis, he claims he modelled himself on his idol, John Lennon. Yet, Liam Gallagher is dogged by an horrific reputation throughout his career. You know, there was that fight on the plane where he had his teeth knocked out. Lots of references to being drunk and disorderly. And as you can see from his gesture in the photograph, he's generally got a bad attitude in my view. And that seems to be completely at odds with John Lennon's reputation. Okay, he's been a bit controversial at times. He rejected his OBE honour and what have you. But it was he, after all, who encouraged us to give peace a chance. The people of Liverpool were even pleased to name an airport after him. Such was his positive reputation as a singer, musician, songwriter, and activist. So we'll think now perhaps a little about our values. Our values are the things that drive us in our lives. It's the things that get us out of bed in the morning. Values define what are most important to a person. When faced with a decision, such as taking a new job, a person will consult with their personal values. They would ask themselves what is their best choice. So, for example, a person's values may consist of family, community, friends. So in which case, a person might reject a job that may be far from home, because spending much more time from home would contradict their values of needing to be part of their community and being around their family and friends. Another example would be perhaps somebody who has very strong views around animal cruelty. So they may reject working for a company that might endorse animal testing. See what I mean? Being aware of our values will help us create our brand vision. And we can drill down further into our values by asking, what is our essence factor, the core of who we are? Complete the phrase, I know I'm in my element when. And these can be further categorized as professional passions and personal passions. I'm just looking at the slide there. We have somebody with a professional passion for design, smartphones and technology. Whereas their personal passions may revolve around family, travel and nature. So it's these passions, along with our values, that provide a clearer vision for where that person wants to be. Once you've identified your passions and values, it starts to become clear the type of profession you're best suited for and one that will bring you happiness. So if we look at the example above, we could say that the person would be happy in a profession that involved designing smartphone technology for the travel or outdoor industry. But that profession would have to leave time for spending time with family and probably for taking family vacations as well. So if values are internal, but what about the things that are visible to others? What about our traits and behaviours? Multiple theories around personality traits, and in identifying your own can be quite tricky. There's one trait theory in particular called the Big Five, and it bases itself around the following. It talks about our openness to experience, our conscientiousness, that was quite hard to say, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And you'll notice at the bottom of the screen there's a link there to that test, and I would encourage you to have a look at that in your own time. There are no right or wrong answers. It's not the be and end all of this. There are numerous sort of personality tests that you can take, but it does give you an insight into your personality, your traits and behaviours. And what it does do is offer up options, if you like, ways that you can change your personality. Identify the good traits that make up your personal brand, and also identify the not so good traits that perhaps you can work on, yeah? As I say, no right or wrong answers, but quite useful as an indicator. Another theory is developed by Katerina Yalas, who was an HR professional and an executive coach. And she developed the acronym MEMORABLE. And this is made up again of our positive and negative characteristics. And what she says is that we each have a message. So what are we trying to say? Then we would consider our expertise, which is why we've got Einstein there on the slide. So this is about knowing your stuff and communicating this in a credible way. What is your authority factor? The knowledge that you hold and the skills that you possess. So in other words, what others recognise is your area of expertise. Then we have manners, meaning our treatment of others. That's reasonably self-explanatory. Then optimism. People are attracted to optimism. We mentioned earlier, isn't it, about people's reputation. And we tend to gravitate more to people, who are positive and optimistic. So we should also aim to be positive in our approach, rather than bringing people down with negativity. Not always easy, I appreciate. And I hold my own hand up to that too sometimes. Of course, it is important to be realistic. And that doesn't mean not challenging a situation just because a view is conflicting or controversial. Then revealing, being authentic, getting the balance right between not bringing all of your baggage to work, but rather sharing some of your life experiences, showing that you're normal, the ups and downs. But of course, this would differ according to the audience. If you're in a position of seniority, how much do you want to reveal? How much is appropriate? Then we have acts. Negative acts takes time to erase, as in acts of service, acts of kindness, thinking about the things that we do in a selfless way, helping someone out without having an agenda, helping someone without seeking praise. And that might also include specific praise, kind words, saying thank you for support or a job well done, spending time with a colleague. Interesting that she mentions branding, which is what we're talking about today. So what is our physical and online brand like? What is your superstar factor, the qualities that set you apart? Then now look, an appropriate professional image that is appropriate to our job. And this also applies, I think, to our online presence, and I'm pleased that Richard is going to be talking about that later in great detail. And finally, the E for empathy. Being all about the other person, being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. I'm going to hand you over now to Richard, because he is now going to share his element of the presentation. So Richard, whenever you're ready, I'll hand back to you.
Hi, Carol. Thanks, and that was really interesting, and really does kind of set the overall frame for my part of today's presentation. I've switched my camera off. I think Karen switched her microphone off, which is great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to take you on a little bit of a web tour. In the chat pane and on Twitter, I've shared a hyperlink to this document here, which is a set of resources, web resources that I've put together, which are all about managing your digital footprint and building your online reputation. I would like to invite you to follow the link here, bit.ly/2 D F resources, and join this document. We've got somebody actually logged in at the minute. You don't need a Google account. You can log in. Anyone can log in, and you'll come up as an anonymous beast. We have the anonymous Ibex up at the top at the moment. I'm going to take you through some of these resources. The first lot are all centered around how to manage your digital footprint and your online reputation. And the second lot are focused on how to build your online reputation. If you could be careful, if you are coming into this document, not to delete any of these resources. I can restore them, but while I'm presenting today, I'd like them to stay where they are, if possible. So the first one I'm going to show you is a really good one on a website called ChildNet, and it's a PDF document. It's really good if you want to download and print this. Actually, it's good to put up in your workplace, on your notice board in the staff room. It's a really good place for it to go. This is the online reputation checklist, and it's a list of things that you can do to manage and to understand your online reputation and your digital footprint. So the first thing that it recommends is that you could search for yourself online. Log out of your Google account and search on Google, put your name in, some basic details that anyone might know about you, say the place that you live, the company that you work for, the organization that you work for, and see what arises. You'll find that you probably will turn up online. And depending upon how you got your Facebook or Twitter settings set up, your Twitter account, your Facebook account may well appear there. But you can change in your privacy settings, you can change that so that they won't. The second tip is to check your privacy settings on your social media accounts, on your Google account, so that you set what people can see appropriate to what you feel comfortable with. And what I'm not going to do is tell you what privacy settings you should use, because it really is a personal thing and dependent upon what each individual person would like. Think before you post, I think, is a really good general rule. If you're on a social network, on Twitter, on Facebook, think what interpretation could be placed upon the post and the message that you're sending out in it. Do you want everyone to see it? You can change the settings on a Facebook post, so you can restrict it to only being visible to a certain group of people. Sometimes you might want everyone to be able to see that. If you're sending out a political message that you want people to be aware of and to share, you can make that available to everyone on Facebook. Deactivate and delete accounts that you don't use. I think there's a really interesting and an important point. Lots of people have MySpace accounts, Friends Reunited accounts, that maybe don't reflect how they are now. And crucially at the bottom here is making a positive footprint. I'm going to come into that in a bit more detail later. But using social media for good, posting good things, positive things, supportive things, things that share knowledge, share the good things that go on in the world, share the good things that other people do. That's really important for making sure that your online reputation is a positive one. Some other resources here. The UK Safer Internet Centre is a really good resource in general. They have two things I'd like to show you very briefly, which are aimed at teachers and staff in schools, but are really useful for lots of people. The first one is what can you do to manage your online reputation? Again, general tips like think before you post, search for yourself, use appropriate language, protect your passwords so that other people can't get in to your account and destroy your personal reputation. Testing your privacy, discussing what other people around you would like as well. Do they want to be tagged in photographs? Some people are not comfortable with that. Making sure that you know what your employer's organization's policies and procedures are. And this is really important from a union perspective. We increasingly get members who come into difficulties through things that they post online, often without realizing the extent to which their posts can be seen, and also not realizing that some of the things that you do online are very closely analogous with what you might do offline, and knowing how to report problems. There are also some more sophisticated ways listed in this resource as well, so have a good explore of that. UK Safer Internet Centre also has a really good table here, again aimed at teaching staff, but really a comprehensive look at what can affect your online reputation in terms of posts that you make, posts by others that are linked to you, and posts by people who may be pretending to be you, which is a problem that lots of people have encountered. I'll signpost you towards a documentary, an interactive online documentary that looks at how websites and other tools you might use on the internet track your behavior. And this comes onto the title for this section, which was think about the stories that other people tell about you. It links in very closely with the idea of the personal brand. I'm going to show you a tool now called a Luminous, which isn't a commonly used tool, but I think is quite illuminating. It was developed to show what people, and especially what organizations, powerful organizations, your employer, but also insurance companies, government organizations, what stories they can tell about you with the incomplete information that is available about you online. I'm going to show a really short video, and I'm going to log into my Facebook account and show you what a Luminous thinks about me.
Every day, you make connections. You discover new products, you chat with friends, you share with your family. All of this tells a story of you. But what if you could put this story to use? Well, now you can. With Luminous, you can use your social media profile to get great new rates on insurance, on loans, and more. Let us show you how. Log in with your Facebook profile, and we'll unlock the power of you.
So just to be clear, this is a project that was created by internet rights activists. It isn't actually an organization that's going to track you and give you insurance deals. I'm going to log in with my Facebook, if it will let me. I'm having a little bit of a problem with that one. I'm just going to reload the page actually. Let's see if I can get it to work. It's going to log in with my Facebook now. Okay. So it's calling me Richard Goodjar here, but welcome to a new Luminous. They've retrieved my data from Facebook, and they can see that I was probably most active in 2011 on the use of Facebook, and have gone up and down over the years. They've analysed 195 things that I like, and found that I scored high in openness, creativity, and imagination, and I'm adventurous. I'm not sure it's actually got the right person here, but let's see. It's going to give me a personality assessment. It's going to analyse my personality. Possibly because I'm sharing my screen with you, it's not necessarily showing me all of the things that I was expecting it to show. Here's a good one. This is the financial risk evaluation. So this is showing you how a company might use your data to tell a story about you and provide you with a risk score based upon your social media. It's giving me a score here because I'm high on openness and extroversion, that I have an extreme potential for risk-taking behavior in my career decisions. Example, quitting a job without another one to go to. Well, it's using incomplete information there. I'm actually extremely boring and quite risk-averse person. It says I have a significant risk for financial risk-taking, including gambling and risky investments. Well, I can tell you, anyone who knows me in person knows I'm not a gambler at all. I don't even play the lottery, and I have absolutely no risky investments. I have a pension, and that's about, and I do have a savings account with a credit union, but that's about it. So Luminous is a really good tool that you can use. Another source of information, general web security information that you might want to have a look at, is the Information Commissioner's Office, which is the independent authority to uphold information rights in the public interest, and helping you to protect your data. There's a whole load of information on this site around online safety, around how to delete data and make sure that that can't be used against you, about cookies and tracking as well, which is really important. On that, on cookies and tracking, another great resource is Mozilla's Get Smart on Tracking site, which I'm going to show you really quickly. And this is inviting you to ask yourself, if you feel that you're in control of your personal information online, do you know what cookies are and what website tracking is all about? And have you ever wondered why some content like ads seem to follow you around? Again, this isn't saying there's a right way and a wrong way to deal with your personal information online. It's encouraging you to be aware of how your personal information is available online and how it can be used about you, so you're empowered to take decisions around your use of the internet. At this stage, I will show you another tool that you can use, which is the Firefox browser, which is a Mozilla product which you can download on smartphones, all computers, on Mac, on Windows devices, and Firefox is a browser that's set up to be both fast and useful, but also secure. And they have tools on Firefox that will allow you to see how your personal information is used. You can download it. If you go onto this page and download Firefox here, you can use little plugins on there to actually track what websites track you and to block that tracking as well. So this is about you understanding your rights online and you understanding how your personal details can be used online. The next section really here is about how you might be able to build your online reputation. We've talked about posting positively, which is a really interesting way to do that. You can do that through your Facebook and through your Twitter. Another good way to build your online reputation is to use Twitter to create a personal network. Follow people who inspire you. Share links using hashtags that link you in with other people who share your interests. Spread knowledge, spread information that relates to your profession, and in that way you can create connections with people around the world who have a similar interest to you. And also, if anyone looks for you online, they'll see that you're using your social network presence for good. A lot of people, when they're looking at building their online profile, use a website called LinkedIn. Many of you might already be members of LinkedIn. I'm going to show you my LinkedIn now. I've developed my LinkedIn profile pretty much to its full extent, but I don't mind. My privacy on LinkedIn is right down at the bottom, and you can have a look at my LinkedIn if you want. You can type in Richard Speight and you'll probably find me. And this is what my LinkedIn profile looks like. I use it to promote myself, to build my network for both my project and also outside of that, to look for new opportunities. My project's coming to an end in a few months' time. I might well be looking for a new job. So it gives you the opportunity to create a kind of a personal profile, to share some links to things you may have produced on the internet. It allows you to share projects, to outline your work experience, to add media to your work experience, so you can see linked to my current job, links to some of the things that I've produced as part of my job, a workshop on collaboration and the personal assistance online guidebook that I created alongside Karen Fisher. You can see my history as Connecting Learners project manager, STEP project assistant, and then going all the way back to when I worked in Parliament and worked in university. So LinkedIn is great for building a network of people. These are some of the people in my network. I have 368 connections and connections into other organisations. It works very similarly to Facebook in some ways. You get a news feed where you can catch up with the latest things going on in your network. One thing I wanted to show you, one thing that's really interesting, is the idea of creating an online CV that makes you discoverable online and showcases some of your skills. I use a tool every day called Prezi, which is an alternative to using PowerPoint. And one thing that people do with Prezi, and I've got this for myself, I'm not going to show you it now because I'll have to log into my personal Prezi account, is to make a Presume with Prezi. It has templates that can be used for this. I've used the desktop template there, and allows you to create an online interactive CV, which you can share and you can embed in your LinkedIn. You can link to it on your Twitter if you're using that for building your online reputation. It's a really good way of doing it, and the templates are there and ready and waiting for you just to fill in your information. So that's one way that you can build your online reputation. Another way that you can build your online reputation is through gathering digital credentials. Increasingly, when we do online courses, when we take part in learning experiences, particularly if you take part in a DigiSkills Cymru learning experience, you'll be issued with a digital certificate, a digital credential called an open badge. You can collect the badges that you earn through online learning, through face-to-face learning, through experiences that you gain, through creating yourself an open badge backpack. I'm going to show you my open badge backpack, which you might have seen linked at the top of my profile on LinkedIn. You see links from my profile on LinkedIn into my Mozilla open badge backpack. So if I log into my backpack, I can show you some of the badges that I've earned from around the internet, from different sources over the last few years, including ones that I've earned from Barclays Digital Academy, from a peer-to-peer learning site called P2PU. This is a badge that recognizes my ability to use a project management method. My membership of a network called the NACE Computing CPD Network, and the fact that I've completed the level 1 course there. That I'm a member of the Badge Alliance community, that I've graduated from the Digital Champions Network as a quick start graduate. These are just some of the badges that I've got in my backpack, and through using the collections function on your backpack, you can collect your badges into different different categories and share those. So this is the part of my backpack, the social learning part of my backpack, that if you click through the link on my LinkedIn profile, that you'll see, and you'll see the badges that I've got that show my ability and my knowledge of social learning methodologies and techniques, such as presenting webinars like this. So I encourage you to look into the world of open badging. There are many places that you can get badges around the internet. Open Badge Academy is where we host our badges for DigiSkills Cymru. And they also have public badges available on that network from places as varied as the National Health Service, O2, and the Mozilla Foundation as well. I'll also signpost you to a really nice little slideshow that I found on Forbes magazine website, which I'll try and open now, which shows 7 ways to use social media to land a job. I'll very quickly scroll through them. This is a slideshow created by Brad Shep, the co-author of How to Find a Job on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Google. So he recommends you create relevant profiles on social networks. Make sure that they're up to date and they have all of your current information. Connect with others in your industry, something I've already recommended, either through LinkedIn or through Twitter. Be engaged, so follow companies, organizations that you would like to be part of, that you're interested in, and that share your values. Be known as a resource, and this is what I was talking about in terms of sharing good stuff, sharing stuff that you learn, sharing your insights, writing a blog. Be known as a resource. Be somebody who is out there online doing good stuff and sharing what they know and learn with other people. It recommends that you don't ask for a job, you just put yourself in front of potential employers. And it recommends that you actually search for jobs. LinkedIn has got a job section, which is really quite a useful one. Make a plan. So understand how you're going to use the internet, how you're going to use social media. And that's the end of that little slideshow. So these are all resources that you can use. That's the end of my section. If anyone has any comments or questions, I haven't got the YouTube video with the chat pane open right at the minute because I've been sharing my screen, but I will switch back to that now. I'll hand you back to Karen Fisher if Karen's there. Are you there, Karen?
I'm here.
Hey, Karen. So I'll hand you back to Karen now. Thanks for listening, and please do use this form. You can add resources that you know of it to the form. Just give a short description and post the hyperlink in there. And yeah, thank you very much, and I'll pass you back to Karen.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Unless I hear otherwise, I assume that the transition between my screen sharing and yours has worked okay.
I think it has.
Yeah, good, thanks. Just wanted to make a few observations, really. Thanks for that presentation. It was really useful and really kind of went down the route I hoped it would go, It certainly linked well to what we talked about last week and what we've discussed this morning. Particularly the Mozilla backpack, collecting evidence there of all the achievements that you've made. I thought that linked well to last week's discussion about collecting evidence towards our personal development portfolio, yeah? I think as well what really kind of alarmed me, I suppose, was how much of us is known to others, and particularly that section that you demonstrated, where I think it was the alumni, yeah, where they were able to almost put together a profile of what they thought you were all about, and particularly in terms of your finances and things like that, linked to your behaviour. So I thought that was quite scary, and yeah, something certainly that I will give consideration to. And I really like the resume as well as an alternative way, of presenting a CV. So yeah, much appreciated. Thank you for that. And I'll certainly have a look at the article later because there's a few sites I'd quite like to revisit. So really now we're at the end of the session. Just to alert you to the fact that UNISON is at hand to help you if you find yourself in difficulty at work due to our online behaviour and what have you. UNISON is one of the largest UK public service unions with 1.3 million members across the country. And I emphasise public services, not public sector, and that's largely due to the fact that public services are now delivered in different ways. All of our work is informed by what members want. We're a democratic, member-led organisation striving to improve the work life of our members and the services they provide to the public. In terms of getting into trouble online, this is how our UNISON reps can help. They are working already with employers to help them develop and enhance social media policies and general internet usage. They will also provide advice and guidance to members on how to work within these policies. So, in other words, preventing issues before they arise. However, if you do find yourself in trouble as a result of an online faux pas, you can be reassured that an accredited steward will accompany you to any disciplinary meetings. UNISON will also work with partners to raise awareness of online issues such as cyberbullying and cyber violence, and that is something that Richard's been working on with the Women's Committee in Wales at the moment. And our dedicated learning and development department, both on a national and regional level, are able to provide workshops and development opportunities around the safe use of the internet. Just to sum up then, we've received just a short interview of the subject of personal development. We talked, as I said last week, about our skills, the things that we can do, and this week we've considered more about our behaviours and attitudes. And just to remind you really that we do offer a full range of funded workshops on the theme of personal development. And these range in terms of length and complexity. And I would encourage you to get in touch with us using the contact details on the screen. I can signpost then to other colleagues across Wales and also to what Richard's doing. But just to be aware, that we are there to help. Unless Richard has anything else to add, I'll just say thank you and sort of sign off for now, I guess, until we're able to perhaps provide further webinars in the future. We'd certainly welcome feedback in terms of what we've been doing these last few weeks and what we can do in the future. And I say just hand over to Richard now.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, and thanks to your doggies as well for staying quiet all the way through the substantive part of the webinar and only joining us right at the end.
Oscar, yeah, he's been very good.
The only things I've got to add really are that we will look at rescheduling the webinar that we had to cancel on the 13th of January, which was coping with change. We will look to reschedule that possibly for a Friday lunchtime sometime in February. Karen and I will work together to get that booked in, really. And beyond that, please do still use the hashtag on Twitter, New Year, New Unison, all one word. You can find me, my project Twitter is at DigiSkills Cymru, all one word. We haven't had any comments in the chat pane on YouTube. We have had a couple of tweets. Mark Fisher adding his opinion on Margaret Thatcher as somebody who had a very clear brand. Other than that, I think we've had a good few people watching. Thank you all very much. If you have been watching, please fill in the form. The Wolf Learner form. It really helps Karen and I to understand how many people have taken part and to report as accurately as possible on numbers to the Welsh Government who fund our projects and to whom we are accountable. So I'd like to say diolch fawr iawn from up here in Bangor, and that is the end of the webinar. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thanks, Richard.